Welcome back to Origami Snowman. My name's Matt. I'm going to tell you a story. I know I've been doing that a lot lately, but this one is currently among the more relevant topics in our house. So, several years ago, we we used to run a daycare, and there were certain things that if you run a daycare in your home, it's sort of, I don't want to say it's impossible, you can't do or whatever, but it's definitely more difficult to do if you're running a daycare. And one of those things was having pets. So when we closed our daycare, we kind of were like, hey, maybe we should get a cat. So we got a cat, and her name was Penny. And Penny, we got Penny, secondhand. She was a thrift cat, and we got her from some friends of ours who did not think that Penny was living her best life at their house, and they were kind of ready to move on, and it just for whatever reason it just wasn't a good fit for either of them. We found out kind of why, but so Penny was an indoor outdoor cat, and she had she'd never learned the subtler, finer points of communication. And so when she wanted something, she was either very loud about it or sort of aggressive about it. We'd had her for several years. We'd been through a lot of things with her. It all kind of culminated. It came to an end when there was a raccoon on our back porch. And Penny freaked out and was like yowling and howling, and she was making noises we hadn't really heard very often from her, and it was a very anxious sound. And so my wife my wife didn't grow up with cats. She was a dog person, so that slobbery, unconditional love, that's what she expected from pets, not the cold, harsh judgment that you get from cats, which is what I grew up with. And so she didn't she didn't sense the danger and ran around the corner to see what Penny was so upset about. Well, when she ran around the corner to see, she startled the cat. The cat, who was already in battle mode, spun and jumped and bit my wife through her jeans, and now my wife has 4 scars on her leg where the cat bit her. That ended up kind of my wife developed sort of a dread of that particular cat, and I think kind of a distaste for cats in general. We've got some friends who have they have 2 cats who are absolutely just adorable and very lovable, and things that Penny was not. Penny was not a cuddly cat. At best, you were a heated seat. That was how she viewed us. She wouldn't have much to do with me, and I love cats. I'm a big cat person. She wouldn't have much to do with me unless no one else was home. And if I was sitting down to write, she would curl up and shove her face into my beard, or do that whole thing where the cat lays on your laptop, and just making herself a real pain in the butt. But adorable, so kind of hard to complain. My wife, being a practical person, didn't think it was fair that she was afraid in her own home, and so we took the necessary steps to send Penny on to another home. We were fortunate to find a place that would take her in, and so we decided we're done. No cats, and dogs are right now in our lives are really more responsibility than we want. So no pets for a long, long time. All right, fast forward several years, and Saturday night was my son's birthday, and it was 2 a.m, and he'd come downstairs to get some water, and he, at 2 a.m, when your brain is working really, really, really well, and your eyes see exactly everything, and they understand what it is they're seeing, and your brain translates it, and everything is reasonable and logical, right? He was getting a glass of water, and he heard a noise, and he turned and he looked, and he thought he saw something scurry into a vent. It's not great, not what you want to be in your vents. You want air and maybe dust in your vents. Not things that scurry. That's not usually a good sign. But apparently we had a scurrying thing. So his initial thought was that it was a bat. I assured him it was not a bat. First of all, bats don't crawl into floor vents. They would fly around, panicky, in the air over your head, which that's my experience with bats. They mostly fly in your house. My thought was that it might have been like a big bug, not pleasant, but also kind of, if you own a home, you got bugs in your house. You just do. There's really no way to get around it. And my wife thought, it's probably a mouse, which if you live in a house, you also have mice. You may not believe it. You may not want to think about it, but somewhere in your house, there is a mouse. And if you haven't seen any signs of the mice, congratulations, you got nice mice. You got the nice ones, the ones that, stay hidden, the ones that they don't want to be a bother, so they don't nibble through your cracker boxes and they don't poop on your floor. That's terrific news. So my wife believes it was a mouse. And I'm sure maybe it was a mouse. I don't know what it is, whatever it was. However, that led us to a conversation that my wife started. She said, "Should we get a cat?" Thinking a cat would deal with the mice, which, yes, cats are good at that. That's one of their primary functions, is murdering small rodents. And that's why we like them. That's why we domesticated them, is because of the rodent situation. Also because of witchcraft. So she said, "Should we get a cat?" Within 2 minutes, she updated her suggestion to, "Should we get 2 cats?" That's all it took. So for the last, week, our primary conversations here in this home have been, what are we going to name these 2 hypothetical cats? We have literally been, I'm not kidding, it's just constant name suggestions, just nonstop. And of course, I got it out of the way because I knew it was coming. I started out with, characters from Mistborn. I said, what about Vin? What about Marsh? What about Spook? What about Ham? All of them shot down. Even by those in my family who read and liked Mistborn. They were like, yeah, no, we can't do that. That's not cool. Although I still stand by Spook would be a cute name for a cat. A little black cat named Spook. That'd be adorable. Because, they're spooky. Okay, having said that, I hate it. Okay. But we have, it's insane. We have come up with all sorts of names. Tony and Trent and Hector. I actually quite like Hector. Call him Heck for short. Socrates and just so many. I literally, it's like text chains. We get to the point where I'm driving my bus and they're all having this text conversation. And when I stop the bus, and I pull into the bus lot and I get out and I grab my phone and I look, and I've got like 36 messages of just collections of lists of names. It's just nonsense. It doesn't mean anything anymore. We're just saying words now. And, I'm going to share with you some of my favorite suggestions. And then I'm going to tell you that none of my suggestions were appreciated by anyone in the family. So, spoiler alert, they all got shot down. But Doc and Ringo, I thought were cute names. I still like Ringo. Doc, I could do without. Now, of course, Doc and Ringo would be Doc Holliday and Johnny Ringo. If you've ever seen Tombstone, one of the greatest westerns of all time, somewhat historically inaccurate, but entertaining as all get out. Doc Holliday, it was played by Val Kilmer and Johnny Ringo. I can never remember that actor's name, but he's been in a lot of stuff, and he's usually he was the guy who came back in time in Terminator, and was John Connor's father. Spoiler alert if you haven't seen Terminator. So I can't remember his name. I should know it, but I can't remember it. That actor. But anyway, they were rivals, Doc and Ringo. I think they're great names. Ritz. I think the name Ritz is kind of cute for a cat. I like names, not just like human names, but like also names that are like, that's not a name, that's a quality or a state of being. You know, like I really like the name Panic. I think Panic is a great cat name because it sort of sums up, you know, the cat zoomies. One name that we all agreed on, that we all quite like, is Giuseppe. Silverblood suggested Giuseppe and Jurgen because I'm not allowed to name the cats after characters from my thing, but they're allowed to name the cats after their favorite contestants on the Great British Baking Show. Apparently, is what it is. But we all kind of thought, oh, Giuseppe is actually a really cool name. And then I suggested Pepe, so Giuseppe and Pepe. But no, that doesn't work either. Silverblood suggested Pippin, and I was like, we can't do Pippin. Can't do Pippin. It's a cute name, but it's also very Lord of the Rings, and no one else is gonna. No one's gonna hear that and not think Lord of the Rings. We just no, can't do that. And here's the thing: when your wife's a teacher and you're a school bus driver, and 2 of your 3 kids are in school, and 1 of your kids works in a school, it's really hard to find names, like human names, that don't, like, you know, oh, I can't name him that. I've got a kid named that. You know, like there's a kid on my bus who, no, we can't name the cat after that kid. You know, it eliminates so many names, you guys. But I like, you know, I like the name Panic. I like Giuseppe. I'm fine with that. It's kind of run its course. It's not quite as novel as it was 3 days ago when we came up with it, and we were all very excited. Ritz and Ringo, I think, are cute names. Although I don't know that I want to go alliterative, you know, 2 cats, and I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just, it's hard naming a pet because, you know, you think, what are we gonna, you know, like, this is a long time. This is years and years and years. We're going to have this thing in our house. Like, if you could name your friend, imagine that. If you could name your friends, you know, like, would you have Brian's? Would you have Nathan's? Or would you have Panics and Ringos and Giuseppe's? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's different, you know. The names, there were about 2 solid days where we had decided the cats would be named Sean and Eddie. Still a big fan. I didn't really point this out to my wife, but the 2 main characters in Shaun of the Dead were Sean and Ed. I don't think she's ever seen it. She wouldn't like it. Not her bag of tea. But bag of tea. No, hang on. What was it? Bag of pickles. That's what I was going to bring. I'm trying to make that a thing, aren't I? Boy, I failed. Yeah, it's not caught on at all. But yeah, she's not a big comedy horror fan, so I don't think she, you know, would care for that movie. But she liked the name Sean and Eddie. I don't know how I feel about them, though, to be honest. I do like certain, like, human names for cats. You know, Kyle, I think, would be a good name for a cat. It's kind of nondescript. Everybody knows a Kyle. And it's funny, Kyle's one of those names that doesn't matter how many Kyles you know, they don't influence your feelings about that particular name. You know? I will tell you, my wife did suggest Ollie for the cat name, and I was like, I don't know if I feel okay naming a cat after the main character of one of my books. And she gave me a look that told me that she didn't know what I was talking about. That hurt a little bit. Just enough that I'll remember it in the middle of the night and question whether or not I should be writing books. But yeah, we have lots and lots of names. My son is not. He's not been particularly helpful. He's been mostly just saying nope, nope, nope. I don't think he's made any recommendations. He's a wingman, but not a great one. You know what I mean? Uh, I'm trying to remember some of the other names. Um, uh, I'm a big fan of like really long, drawn out names that you just shorten. We had a cat once. His name was Gary, Indiana, murder capital of the world. That was his given Christian name, and we called him Gary, of course. But yeah, I like that idea, but it's a cat. You know, we jokingly said, what if we named him Lamp? Like I love Lamp. But I don't know. It's tricky when you're naming a pet because you think, how are we going to shorten it? What are we going to say when the cat knocks something over? Are we going to yell? We're gonna, like the name Tucker, great name for a cat. But when you yell Tucker, it sounds like, you're being far more rude than, the situation warrants, Um, But I looked up a bunch of like old English names, and I liked like Arlo and Arden or Alden. Those were cute. I thought Duff was cute. Duncan, not a terrible name, Duncan, for a cat or for a donut. Either one is great. But it's hard naming pets. Usually, we just kind of would like I've always been a secondhand pet kind of guy. And you just kind of keep whatever they were named. But historically, let's talk about my old pets since I've got so much longer to go in this video. Got like 15 holes to go, 14 holes. I can't tell if it's a 5 or a 6 at the end of that flag. Anyway, so we had Tiger. I talked about Tiger. Tiger was awesome. He liked me a lot. Didn't like it when I cried. We had a dog named Sam. That was my brother's dog. Sam was sort of a guard dog that we kept chained up outside. We lived on a farm. It wasn't a working farm, but it was out in the middle of nowhere, and you just kind of you had dogs that oh goodness, I don't know if I don't. This is going to be a tricky hole to get. I think I have a plan though. I want to get down in that little crevice. Oh, almost made it, and then hop up on that ledge. That's what I want to do. Nope, get up there. So we had Sam. For a while, we had a dog named Bear. Bear showed up at our house one day, and so we just had this dog Bear. And then Bear ran off one day. There were some guys on bicycles, and he just ran off after him. And we had Bear for, I don't know, I'd say a little over a year. But he was a real pretty dog, big, dopey, furry, fuzzy thing. Yep, that was it. We had tons of cats. When you live out in the middle of nowhere and it's an old farm, you just have cats. And so after Tiger, we had a cat named, oh gosh, what was her name? Hang on. Smokey. That was her name. Now, Smokey, so if you have an indoor cat, there's certain things you do. Get your cat declawed. If some people say it's cruel. I don't know. I'd rather have a declawed cat than see the cat shred my couch and then kick the cat across the room. I lesser of two evils. I'm never gonna make this hole. I'm not even into it. So we also didn't like get her like neutered. So now our house, our property was an old farm, not a working farm like I said, but our neighbors across the street, the Smiths, theirs was a working farm. Hallelujah, I made it. I'm done. And they had loads of cats, and they all knew Smokey. That was a good shot. So we often had kittens. We had kittens all the time. Thank you, Smokey. And at first we tried to name them because we didn't realize how many dozens of cats we would have over the years. So we had Nathaniel, Sebastian. That was one my sister named. We had one called Puff because it was very fluffy. We had Bandit. We had Pookie. We had Morris. Morris, I will tell you a story about Morris. Morris was a. If you ever look up old pictures of Morris the cat from Nine Lives cat food, he was their spokes cat. This cat looked exactly in the face, the build, everything looked exactly like Morris. Now, one time, Morris, he disappeared. He just disappeared out of nowhere. Like, we lived out in the middle of nowhere, so there were plenty of places he could have gone. But it was several days. He was gone. Now, Morris he was always around until he wasn't. And then we were like, well, I guess he's gone. Well, then one day he showed up on our back deck. Our back deck was raised up off the ground. I have no idea how he got up there. But he was on our back deck, meowing at the French doors, just outside of our dining room. And my mom found him. He, one of his back legs was dangling off, and he was missing his tail. And he looked absolutely, absolutely miserable, like bony, thin, miserable, bloody, just a mess. So she rushed him to the vet. And the vet had determined that he had gone back in the woods behind our house and managed to get in a fox trap. And then proceeded to chew his way out. He 28-dayed himself out of a fox trap. We had to keep him, he was all bandaged up and everything while he healed, and he was inside and he hated it. We had to keep him in like a little bathroom in our house in the basement for about a week, and he hated it. He hated it. He almost chewed his way out of that. And when we let him out, the other cats did not like him. They saw him as something of like a weak link, and so they would gang up on him and attack him. Well, let me tell you something. If a guy cuts his arm off to get out of a trap, I am not about to fight that guy. That guy is way tougher, way more interested in surviving than I am. There's not much I can do about it. And that's how Morris was. He had chewed his way out of a fox trap, and these other cats thought, look at this idiot. Oh, my word. He destroyed them. I mean, he would just go it wasn't playful fighting. Like, it was like nasty, mean, this cat is looking for a meal kind of fighting. And they eventually left him alone, but holy cow. So Morris was awesome. We had a dog, a little miniature schnauzer mix named Cricket. I named a character after Cricket. And then we had a cat named Layla. And those are our cats growing up. Those were our pets growing up. And names are hard to come by, I had a little black cat named Lando for a while when I had my apartment. And then we had Gary. We had a dog named Conan, the best dog in the world. You'll never convince me that there's a better dog than Conan. He was absolutely phenomenal, absolutely incredible. We didn't name him. We got him with his name, so we didn't get to pick that name out. But there was just, names are hard. Names are hard. So that's what we're doing here in my house right now. Oops, that's how things are unfolding over here right now. Oh, so if you have any suggestions, I'd love to hear them, because my brain is crippled. It's like a Hershey bar after you've unwrapped it and then you try to rewrap it. It's just crinkled and it doesn't fold right, and you're like, there's no way that these were right angles before. It's just my brain. It hurts. And if somebody sends me one more list of names, I'm gonna put them up for adoption. Silver blood. So, Ritz, Ringo, Panic, Giuseppe. These are all names that I like. But unfortunately, nobody else likes. Yeah, we all like Giuseppe. I'm trying to drag this out. So you guys know how it is when we get down to the last couple holes, right? So, yeah. Now, let me just say one thing. I don't like floofy names. I don't like. So, our cat Layla, somebody left her on our porch in the middle of a storm, and that's how we got Layla. And while we were talking, my mom and I were talking, what do we do with this cat? We keep her. If we keep her? What are we going to name her? And my mom said, let's name her Stormy since we found her in a storm. And I said, Mom, literally any name would be better than that. The next song that comes on the radio, that's what we're naming the cat. And Eric Clapton's Layla came on the radio, and I said, boom, there, the cat's name is Layla. And my mom was like, I really like that. That's a really cute name. So anyway, so names come out of nowhere sometimes, but sometimes you put so much thought into it that it just makes your brain bleed. So anyway, if you have any suggestions, we'd love to hear them. Thank you guys so much for listening to me ramble about just the most ridiculous nonsense ever. But I love you guys to death, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.